Most men will spend their entire lives chasing a feeling they can't name and losing women they never truly understood. Not because they weren't attractive enough, not because they didn't try hard enough, but because no one ever told them what a woman is actually measuring in the quiet moments, the moments that look ordinary on the surface but carry enormous weight underneath. What you're about to hear isn't relationship advice, it's psychology, and once you understand it, you'll never look at intimacy, connection, or attraction the same way again. There are 5 psychological truths about women that most men never learn. Not because the information is hidden, but because most men are too focused on the wrong things to ever stop and ask the deeper question. So let's ask it now. What is a woman actually looking for when she lets someone in? The first truth will challenge everything you think you know about what intimacy really means. Most men believe intimacy is about physical access, about attraction, chemistry, timing. And while those things exist, they are not the foundation. They are the surface. Beneath every intimate moment between a man and a woman, something far more significant is happening, something she may never say out loud, something she may not even consciously recognize herself. She is running a test, not a deliberate one, not a calculated trap. It's instinctive, wired deep into the feminine psyche. And the question being asked silently, in every vulnerable moment is this: is it safe to be seen here? When a woman chooses to be emotionally close to someone, she is not just opening a door. She is exposing something she protects in almost every other area of her life: her unguarded self, her softness, her trust. And that exposure doesn't come easily, no matter how confident or independent she appears. Here's what most men miss entirely. Even when a woman seems casual about intimacy, her nervous system is not. Her body responds to what her mind is still quietly processing. She notices the tension in your jaw when something doesn't go your way. She registers the slight shift in your energy when your ego feels threatened. She feels the difference between a man who is present and a man who is simply performing presence, and she responds accordingly. If she senses emotional instability in you, unresolved anger, deep insecurity, ego fragility, her guard never fully comes down. Not because she's being difficult, but because something primal in her recognizes the risk of softening around someone who hasn't mastered themselves. Think about that for a moment. Your self-control, or lack of it, is something she feels before you ever say a single word about it. But here is where it gets more interesting. Because safety alone doesn't build attraction. Safety builds trust, safety builds openness. But there is another layer, a deeper, more electric layer, and it requires something completely different. The second truth is where most men get permanently stuck, and it has nothing to do with confidence the way most people define it. There's a distinction that almost no one talks about: the difference between performing confidence and embodying composure. Performed confidence is loud, it seeks acknowledgement, it fills silence with noise because it's uncomfortable with stillness. Most men mistake this for strength. Women don't. Composure is different. Composure is a man who doesn't need the room to validate him. A man whose stillness isn't absence, it's presence. Controlled, grounded, completely self-possessed. And that quality, that rare, quiet gravity, is one of the most powerful things a woman can encounter in a man. Here's why. On a subconscious level, every emotionally intense moment becomes an evaluation. Not a conscious judgment, an instinctive reading. She is watching how you handle pressure, how you carry yourself when things don't go as planned, whether your energy stays steady or begins to unravel at the edges. And what she's really measuring isn't how dominant you are, it's whether you can govern yourself. Because a man who can hold his power without weaponizing it, who can stay calm in the middle of emotional intensity, who doesn't flinch or collapse or explode, that man creates something rare. He creates certainty, and certainty for a woman is deeply attractive in a way that no amount of surface-level confidence can replicate. She doesn't want to feel the storm coming for her. She wants to feel the storm in him, contained, mastered, directed with intention. That is where real polarity lies, not in control over someone else, in absolute command of yourself. And when she feels that when your presence genuinely carries that weight, something shifts in her. She doesn't have to stay guarded. She doesn't have to be strong for both of you. She can finally exhale. But what happens in the moments between the intensity? What does she need when the fire quiets and something deeper is asked of you? That question leads directly to the third truth, and it's one that almost no one is willing to say plainly. The third truth is about vulnerability and why most men are terrified of the one thing that would transform their relationships entirely. There is a myth that emotional strength means emotional distance, that a grounded man is an unreadable man, that showing nothing is somehow the same as having everything under control. It isn't. There is a profound difference between emotional suppression and emotional mastery. Suppression walls people out. Mastery lets the right people in at the right time, in the right measure, without losing yourself in the process. A woman doesn't fall deeply for a man she can't reach. She may be attracted to his strength. She may respect his composure. But real intimacy, the kind that builds over months and years into something unbreakable, requires that at some point you let her see something real. not weakness, not emotional chaos, not the performance of vulnerability designed to manufacture connection, genuine honesty, a moment where you say, without defense, this matters to me, or I was wrong about that, or simply I don't have it all figured out, but I'm working on it. That kind of honesty is rare, and when a woman encounters it in a man who also carries genuine strength, something powerful happens. The two things she needs most, safety and depth, exist in the same person, and that combination is almost impossible to walk away from. Most men choose one or the other. They're either emotionally open, but unsteady, or steady but emotionally sealed. The man who can hold both, that man is unforgettable. The question is, what gets in the way? Why do so many men wall themselves off even when they don't want to? The fourth truth answers that directly, and it goes somewhere uncomfortable. The fourth truth is about silence and why what you don't say carries more weight than almost anything you do. Women are extraordinarily sensitive to emotional inconsistency. This isn't a generalization, it's a neurological reality. Women process emotional information across more neural pathways than men do. They read tone, micro-expressions, energy shifts, and behavioral patterns with a level of precision that most men simply don't expect. Which means this: you cannot fake presence. You cannot say I care with your words and broadcast indifference with your energy. You cannot perform emotional availability while being privately disengaged. She will feel the gap between what you say and what you actually are, and that gap will cost you trust faster than almost anything else. This is why silence used well is one of the most powerful tools a man can have. Not the silence of withdrawal, not cold distance dressed up as stoicism, but the silence of a man who is fully present without needing to fill every space with noise. A man who listens not to respond, but to understand. A man whose quiet attention communicates more than an hour of talking ever could, when you are genuinely present. Not performing, not managing impressions, not running an internal script, she feels it. Your attention becomes something she trusts. Your silence becomes something she leans into rather than fears. And here is the part that most men find uncomfortable to accept. She already knows. Long before you say anything, long before a conversation reaches its conclusion, she has read your energy and drawn her conclusions. Your words are often just confirmation of what she already sensed. So the question becomes, what is your silence actually saying? Because this leads to the fifth truth, the one that ties everything together, the one that most men resist the longest, and that changes everything when they finally stop resisting it. The fifth truth is the one no one wants to say out loud because it requires a man to completely redefine what he thinks power means. Here it is plainly. The most attractive thing a man can offer a woman isn't his achievements. It isn't his appearance, his status, or the impression he makes in a room full of people. It's integration. It's being the same man in private that you are in public. The same man under pressure that you are when everything is easy. The same man in vulnerability that you are in strength. When who you are doesn't shift depending on what's being asked of you, when your character is consistent at every level, that is what she calls trustworthy. And trust for a woman isn't just an emotional experience. It's physical. It changes how her body relaxes around you. It changes the quality of her attention. It changes the depth of what she's willing to offer. Most men spend enormous energy projecting a version of themselves they think is impressive, and some of that version may be real. But underneath the projection is always the truth, and she is patient. She is watching. She will eventually find the distance between the image and the man, when there is no distance, when what she sees is genuinely what is there. That's when real surrender happens. Not because she's given up her power, because she's chosen to share it with someone she actually trusts. Step back and look at all five of these truths together. Intimacy as emotional safety. Attraction as a response to self-mastery. Depth built through genuine vulnerability. Presence communicated through intentional silence. And trust turned through complete consistency of character. None of these require perfection. None of them demand that you become someone you are not. In fact, they demand the opposite. They require that you become more fully who you actually are, unguarded, grounded, real. Because at the end of the day, the woman worth keeping isn't looking for a performance. She's looking for a person, one who has done enough internal work that she doesn't have to be afraid of what she'll find when the performance ends. Be that man not for her approval, but because it's who you genuinely want to become. That is where real connection begins. And once you've felt it, nothing else comes close. If this shifted something in you, drop the word grounded in the comments. It means you're already further along than most.